you think of the reckless militia?
I think it is. I ain't never heard of it, but I think they're doing a pretty good job.
Let's see what happens. All right. I guess now it's time to try and figure out what happened. What did happen? We don't know. Let's dig into it and try and figure out what happened here. All I know is it worked good, and then all of a sudden it didn't work at all. It worked good. Okay, what do I know? Here's what we know. It worked good, and then it didn't work at all. What does this mean? Well, I don't know. Let's just grab some wrenches and a dipstick and try and figure this puzzle out. Okay. Wrenches and dipstick. That's a good place to start, right? Now remember, I told you it was shaking. She had the shakes. Now I'm always careful to try and make sure that I get that thing pushed on before I tighten the bolts, but I suppose it might be possible that the bolts were not all the way tight, and if that's the case, then my lead theory is that if the transmission bolt, the bolts that hold the transmission were not tight holding it to the motor, somehow if that mid plate was warped, because remember, I was pulling on that mid plate. Now I'm talking about all this before I even grab a wrench and get in there, but this is my theory. I think what happened is when I hooked a ratchet strap to the mid plate to try and pull the transmission up onto that jack, I think I might have pulled it away from the back of the motor and somehow screwed myself up when I was pushing the trans back onto the motor and then tightening the bolts thinking they were tight when really they were just had some sloppy slop in there, some snagged up mid plate with a bow in it or something. It's just a piece of aluminum and it has the weight of the motor kind of hanging on it. So that's what I'm thinking. Now, if that's what I think, then you'll come and start shaking and it gets a little play in there, straightens the mid plate back out, and now all of a sudden the trans is jiggling. Maybe that gives room for the converter to walk out of the pump, which doesn't look like that's what happened, but that's my only theory. Remember, the trans was shaky. That's all I know. I saw it shaking, and then I just got upset and pushed it in the barn. So I'm going to take a wrench and see if these bolts are loose. Okay, let's just put a wrench on this and see what happens. If I can get my arm in here while you hang out there. If you hang out here, and I put my hands in here, oh, that kind of hurt. It'll be okay. All right. Okay, that bolt's super tight, I think. I don't know how the transmission was jiggling. It was like something rattled apart. Okay, these bolts are tight. So we'll just go around the whole thing. I mean, those bolts super tight. Bolt's not going anywhere. So what happened? Well, that one's loose. Okay, now I got my first loose bolt. Could the bolts be too long? No, the plate's drilled all the way through there. Well, I got one loose bolt, so 1 out of 3 on this side is loose. Maybe, baby. Maybe I am not as retarded. Maybe I'm as retarded. The bolts are tight as shit. So I don't really see how the transmission could have been shaken the way it was. So far it doesn't make a lot of sense. I accidentally ran this transmission over. What are you gonna do? Let's see what's going on this side. Alright, coming in this side, let's check the lower bolt on this side. Now that bolt's tight. Okay. But look at that. Now here's something. These are the same bolts that have been in every transmission. But what happens there? Where is that bolt? It doesn't make any sense. No, that theory makes 0 sense. Although I'm looking at it now and that bolt looks too long. Let's check this one. Let's just get a dipstick and check the oil level. It's got oil in it. The bolts are tight. 2 of them were loose on the bell housing. For whatever reason, the bell housing on this one's shorter than the other one, and the bolts were a little too long, and I didn't notice. Let's just start it up and see what happens. I don't know what could be wrong with this one. Maybe it just had stage fright the other day and it'll work today. You hear it? It goes in reverse. Whoa. Let's go look at it. Seems to be working. We've got to take it for a ride. Make sure no kids are behind us. So far, it seems like it might work. I don't know what happened. 2 of the bell housing bolts were a little loose. Not a lot loose, just a little loose. Does that make it stop driving all of a sudden, lose all gears? I haven't done anything to this thing. I put 1 bolt in it that's shorter because it had to be a little bit shorter and I didn't realize. I snugged the other one up and now all of a sudden it works. It's a mystery. We're gonna take it for a ride and see what happens. Maybe it only works for 5 minutes at a time. You can sit here and watch and have a good time. Well, now it doesn't work. Been running for a couple minutes, just sitting there, now it doesn't work again. So it only works for a minute at a time. Maybe it's moving fluid around and now the pan's low. Not oil. Let's put more in it anyway. Okay, it's overflowing now. There's oil in it. Let's try again. This transmission's junk. Maybe what has happened is it's working when it's cold, And as it heats up, it starts to slip so bad we don't even feel it go in any gear. Does that make any sense? Either way, I can run it for 60 seconds at a time. Maybe. You just go, and then you stop, shut it down, cool it off, come back the next day, you go again. If I do 60 miles an hour, I can cover a mile at a time. Well, what are you going to do? Just working with what I've got. Oh, I should have bought a Corvette. Why? Why keep going? Well, if I was 15, and I still am up here, if I was 15 and I woke up this morning, or I woke up a minute ago and I had this broken thing in my yard, and somebody told me all you've got to do is all you got to do is take the transmission out and put it back in 100 times, and then it might work. Sounds like a good deal to me. So, okay. I woke up like this, and now I've got a job to do. I might have to do it 100 times before I get it right, but eventually, it's going to work for more than 35 seconds. So I think the next thing to do is probably not pull it out. Probably before I pull it out, okay, I think before I pull the trans out, I should probably drop the pan and make sure that the pump's drinking fluid properly. Maybe it's a clogged filter. I don't know. We never took nothing off of this transmission. I just put it in there. That was it. That was the whole plan. Just shove it in there and put some oil in it and see if it works. It works, and then it doesn't work. It's worth a try, right? All right, next step, drop the pan and see what's going on in the bottom of that thing.